The door creaked like it had guilt in its hinges. She stepped inside, barefoot, holding her shoes by the straps, hair pulled loose, red lipstick reduced to a fading rumor. Her eyes scanned the room. Then they stopped, wide, panicked, like her brain couldn't compute what she was seeing. Because there were 7 people in our living room. None of them were her friends. 2 were neighbors. 1 was her cousin. Another was my divorce lawyer. 1 was the woman she'd unknowingly texted from Eric's bed. 1 held a folder. 1 held a camcorder. And me? I was on the couch. Calm. Cold. Holding her wedding ring in my palm like it was evidence in a trial that had just started without her. She blinked like she'd been hit. "What is this?" she asked, voice cracking, keys still dangling in her hand. No one answered. Someone hit play. The audio was shaky, muffled. There was laughter, slurred voices. A voice too familiar, hers, whispering things she once only told me. Then another voice, Eric's. A groan. A laugh. Another whisper. She lunged for the phone. She didn't get far. The woman who'd sat across from me at the diner 3 nights ago, Eric's wife, stepped forward and blocked her path. Her voice was steady. "You want to play in silence, Darlene? Fine. But now you can listen." My wife staggered back like the floor betrayed her. "Wait. Just wait." I spoke then. Finally. First words in over 12 hours. "Bathroom. 3rd drawer down. 2nd phone. You left it unlocked." Her face collapsed in slow motion. Every lie she'd ever told broke across her expression like glass under pressure. There was no screaming, no gasping, just silence. The kind that drowns you when your lungs fill with your own secrets. And that's when I told her. I didn't need revenge. I just needed witnesses. She didn't cry. Not right away. She just stood there, clutching her purse like it was a shield, staring at the paused frame on the phone screen, her own face mid-laugh, laying in someone else's arms, her hand gripping a whiskey glass I'd never seen in our house. It wasn't just the footage. It was the timestamp. 2:14 a.m. The exact moment I'd texted her, "Are you safe?" and she'd never replied. I dismissed everyone with a nod. No shouting. No drama. Just quiet exits and silent glances. Her cousin gave her a look like she didn't even recognize her anymore. Eric's wife never took her eyes off Darlene until the last second. I waited until the front door clicked shut before I stood up. She finally opened her mouth. "You set me up?" I laughed. I wasn't proud of it. It came out shaky, more like a cough soaked in bitterness. "No, Darlene. You set yourself up. I just provided a front row seat." Her voice wobbled. "You invaded my privacy. Oh, now you care about boundaries?" I pointed to her phone, still sitting on the table with the screen dark. "You left that 2nd phone in the drawer. You forgot it was still syncing to our shared cloud. Did you think I wouldn't notice an extra iMessage thread named Just E?" She tried again. It didn't mean anything. It was one night. And that was when something in me cracked. Not loudly, not with rage, but the way ice cracks in a frozen lake. Quiet. Spreading. Deep. I stared at her and whispered, "You wore perfume you hadn't worn in 10 years. You bought a dress with the tag still on it. You left your wedding ring in the drawer. You didn't just cheat, Darlene. You rehearsed it." That finally did it. Her eyes welled up. But it wasn't guilt, I could tell. It was fear. Fear of consequences. Fear that I wasn't going to grovel or scream. That I'd gone cold. She stepped toward me. "Can we just talk?" "No," I said. "I talked to your sister. I talked to your coworkers. I talked to the woman you lied to last night when you said you were crashing at a friend's. You talked to Eric. I'm talked out." The silence between us could have drowned cities. She tried to explain. Said she only went because she was mad I forgot our anniversary 2 weeks ago. Said she drank too much. Said she didn't intend for anything to happen. I just listened, stone-faced, because I knew none of it mattered. Intentions don't change outcomes. And what she did wasn't a stumble. It was choreography. Then I handed her an envelope. She didn't open it. Just stared. "It's not divorce papers," I said. "Not yet. It's a list. Everything that's going to change starting now. Access to my accounts? Gone. Credit cards? Frozen. Joint savings? Split. You want to stay here, you'll follow house rules, starting with no more secrets." She said nothing. I walked past her and grabbed my jacket. "Where are you going?" she asked softly. "To clear my head," I said. "Don't be here when I get back if you can't tell me the full truth. And I mean all of it." And then I left. I didn't slam the door. I let it close slowly behind me. When I got back that evening, The house was exactly as I left it. Lights off, curtains half drawn. The hallway smelled like her perfume still hung in the air, like a ghost she left behind on purpose. For a moment, I thought maybe she'd taken me seriously and left, taken her things and vanished before she had to admit to anything. But then I heard it, the soft clink of a spoon against ceramic. The kitchen. She was there, at the table, like nothing had happened. Wearing one of my old hoodies, hair tied back, face washed clean of makeup and shame. She looked up when she saw me, like she'd been rehearsing her opening line for hours. I made soup. Soup. After what she did, after the collapse of everything we built, she thought soup was the answer. I didn't sit. I didn't even take off my coat. I stood there like a guest in my own life. Did you read it? I asked. She nodded, gently. The list. And, I want to try, she whispered. But I need you to believe that it wasn't love, Clyde. It wasn't about him. I wasn't trying to destroy us. My jaw tensed. But you were trying to hurt me. She didn't deny it. That's what stung more than anything else. Not the physical betrayal, as bad as that was, but the intention behind it. She wanted me to feel pain. She wanted me to suffer. She wanted to balance some imaginary scale I didn't even know we were keeping. I felt invisible, she said after a while. You stopped looking at me like I mattered. I wanted to feel something again. Wanted to see if I could still make someone want me. I didn't interrupt her. I wanted to hear every awful syllable. And Eric, he was just there. I wasn't thinking about consequences. I wasn't thinking about you. That one punched the air from my lungs. She didn't think about me. 11 years of loyalty. Birthdays, funerals, job losses, Sunday mornings. And in the moment where she made the worst decision of our lives, I didn't even exist. I finally sat down, slowly, across from her. Then maybe that's where we start, I said. With you seeing what it's like to live without me. She flinched. What do you mean? I mean you're staying here, but I'm not. Her hands started trembling. You're leaving? For now, I said. You get the house for 30 days. That's how long you have to tell me everything. All of it. Every secret. Every conversation. Every time you lied. If even one detail changes later, it's done. I want written honesty. Not tears. Not excuses. Facts. She looked like I'd slapped her. You want me to write it? Yes, I said coldly. Because I'm done listening to fiction. I stood up again and placed a burner phone on the table. You'll send a new entry every night at 8 p.m. No editing, no filters. Just truth. Her voice cracked. And if I don't, then I file for divorce the next morning. She stared at the phone like it had poison in it. But she didn't argue. She knew I meant it. I didn't storm out this time. I walked. Quiet. Intentional. Because the only thing worse than betrayal is knowing you were never even in the room when the decision was made to betray you. I waited in the cheapest motel I could find, a place with flickering hallway lights and a vending machine that ate my quarters twice. The walls were paper thin, and the carpet smelled like it had witnessed too many sad endings. But that was the point. I wanted discomfort. I wanted silence. I wanted to feel the weight of the choice I made, to leave her alone in the house where we built a life just to see what she'd do when no one was watching. At exactly 8:01 p.m., the first message arrived. A voice memo. I told her to write everything. She sent a recording instead. Typical Darlene. Always choosing her own rules, even in shame. I hesitated before hitting play. My thumb hovered over it like it was a trigger. But I pressed. Her voice was small. Fragile. But not fake fragile. Not the way she sounded when she wanted something. This was real. I kissed him before the party even started, she said. That's the first thing I need to tell you. He came to pick me up. You thought I drove myself, but I didn't. I lied. My mouth went dry. I didn't plan it. But when I opened the door and saw him, it all just collapsed. He complimented my dress. Called me D like he used to. I laughed too loud. I think I already knew I was going to cheat before I stepped outside. I paused it. Got up. Punched the bathroom door. Not hard enough to break it. Just hard enough to feel something. Then I sat back down and pressed play again. I kept thinking about how cold you've been lately. How you used to touch my back when you walked past me. How we used to hold hands at red lights. How I felt like a ghost in our house, and how Eric made me feel seen again. That's not an excuse. It's just the truth. That word, truth. It burned worse than any lie she ever told. She went on. I didn't sleep with him that night. Not all the way. But we were close. And we did things that weren't innocent. I stayed over because I couldn't face you. Because I didn't want to come home and pretend to be your wife with the smell of him still on my skin. My stomach twisted so hard I had to pause again. I thought I'd prepared myself. I thought putting her through this confession challenge would make her crack, make her fall apart, and regret it all. But instead, it was me unraveling. Her voice wasn't smug. It wasn't defensive. It was honest. And that made it so much worse. At the very end of the message, she added something I wasn't expecting. There's more. But I want to tell you something first. You were right. I rehearsed it. I put that perfume on because I wanted him to remember me. I left the ring off because I wanted to feel single again. I wanted to punish you for forgetting who I used to be. But I think I also wanted to punish myself. Because part of me knew I was destroying something I'd never get back. Then silence. Just a 5-second pause. And a whisper I almost missed. I don't know if you'll ever come home again. But I'll keep sending these. Even if you don't listen. I sat there in the motel bed, phone screen glowing like a wound, and I realized something brutal. She wasn't sending these to win me back. She was sending them because it was the only way she could look herself in the mirror. And now I was the one who couldn't. The second message came right on time. 8 p.m. sharp. No delay this time. It was a text, not a voice memo. Just 4 paragraphs. No greeting. No hi. No, I hope you're okay. She knew better. She knew I wasn't. The first sentence stopped my heart. This started months ago. I had to read it twice. I actually backed out of the message, then opened it again, like maybe I hallucinated the words. But they were still there, plain as day, like a bullet in an envelope. She went on. The party wasn't the first time I saw him. We'd been messaging for a while. I didn't think it was cheating at first. It was just old songs, inside jokes, memories. But it turned into more. I just didn't want to admit it to myself. My hands went numb. Not from rage. From that slow, creeping horror that you've been living in the wrong version of your own life, and everyone else already knew. I sat on the edge of the motel bed, feet barely touching the floor, and kept reading. He told me I looked sad in our Christmas card, that I used to smile differently, that you'd aged me, and I didn't defend you. I just laughed. I laughed, Clyde. I'm so sorry. I felt sick. That photo hung in our hallway for months. My mom had a copy on her fridge. I lied about Becca. She never even knew I used her name. I've been telling so many stories I'm not sure which ones were ever true. I wanted you to feel something. I wanted to feel something. But now all I feel is shame. And then came the part one wasn't ready for. The part that made my vision blur. There's something else. Someone else. I dropped the phone. It hit the carpet with a soft thud, but to me it sounded like a gunshot. My ears rang. My vision tunneled. I knew what was coming. I just didn't know how to survive hearing it. I picked the phone back up with shaking fingers. It wasn't just Eric. There was someone else I met through work. It didn't last. It wasn't physical, not entirely, but there were calls, hotel lobbies, drinks. It was emotional. And that's worse, I know. I didn't even realize I was breathing hard until I looked up and saw my reflection in the motel mirror. I looked like I'd been hit by a car. Pale, sweaty, my mouth hanging slightly open. Like I was watching the part of the movie where the main character finds out none of it was real. I didn't respond to the message. What could I say? I didn't even have the energy to cry. I just lay back on the bed and stared at the ceiling, letting her words echo in the hollow of my chest. She hadn't just betrayed me once. She'd hollowed out the entire structure of our marriage like termites, slowly, secretly, until it all just collapsed under its own weight. And I was still standing there, in the dust and debris, wondering how I didn't hear it all coming down. But the worst part? I couldn't stop wondering what her next message would say, and why, despite everything, I still wanted to read it. I didn't expect anything on the third night. After what she told me in her second message, I figured she'd gone silent out of shame. Or maybe she finally understood what too late really meant. I wasn't sure I wanted to hear more anyway. I spent the entire day walking through town like a ghost, drifting from places we used to go together. A diner where we once slow danced on our anniversary. The thrift store where she found that ugly orange lamp I secretly hated but pretended to love because it made her laugh. At 7:58 p.m., my phone buzzed. But it wasn't a voice memo, not even a message. It was an email. The subject line made my stomach twist. Draft accidentally sent. Please delete. But I didn't delete it. Of course I didn't. She knew I wouldn't. That's why she called it an accident. That's how she gave herself permission to say what she didn't want to admit. It was long. Almost a full page. No punctuation. A stream of consciousness, emotional flood. I read it 3 times. The first time in shock. The second time in silence. The third time with my heart in my throat. It started with, I never wanted to fall for him. Not the second one. The work guy? I hated that I liked him. She described the first time she caught herself smiling at his texts more than mine. Said he was younger, ambitious, and nothing like me. Not because he was better, but because he was new. Said he made her feel like she wasn't aging, like time hadn't dulled her. I don't know what hurt more, the fact that she felt that way, or the fact that I didn't notice she was drowning right in front of me. She admitted to things I hadn't even asked about, like how she used to pick fights with me on purpose just so she could storm out and message him from the car. How she kept one of his ties hidden in her gym bag, like a souvenir. How she imagined a different life with him, even if she didn't want it for real. And then came the worst line in the whole damn email. I don't think I ever wanted to leave you, Clyde. I just wanted to know what it felt like to be wanted again, even if I had to borrow it. Borrowed affection, rented emotions. Everything she gave me had been divided, shared, rationed between me and 2 other men. I wasn't a husband. I was the default setting. The background noise she grew tired of. At the very end of the message, there was one last line. No explanation. No context. There's something you should know about Eric's party. Something I didn't tell you. That was it. No details. No follow-up. Just a final note designed to ruin my night. I called her. First time in days. I didn't even know what I was going to say, just that I had to say something. But she didn't answer. Went straight to voicemail. I didn't leave a message. Instead, I lay awake in that cheap motel bed for hours, staring at my phone, knowing that whatever came next, it would hurt worse than anything so far. And I still wasn't ready to stop hearing it. She didn't message at 8 p.m. this time. Nothing came at 8:15. Or 9. Or 10. I stared at my phone until the screen dimmed on its own, over and over, my thumb twitching like I could summon an answer if I just kept checking. I told myself I didn't care. I told myself I was done. But by midnight, I was pacing the motel room like a lunatic. Then, at 12:32 a.m., the message finally arrived. 2 words. I'm ready. No context. No explanation. Just that. A minute later, another message came through. It was a video. No text this time. Just the spinning loading wheel, and then it began playing on its own. The footage was shaky. Filmed on a phone. Dim lighting, loud music. The camera was pointing at a table covered in drinks, shot glasses, red plastic cups. Someone laughed off screen. Then the camera turned. And there she was. Darlene. Dancing in the middle of the room. Barefoot. Laughing too loud. Her red dress riding high on her thighs. And next to her, Eric. Holding a phone. Grinning like a child who'd just stolen something and gotten away with it. His arm went around her waist. She didn't stop him. In fact, she leaned into it. Then the video zoomed in slightly. Someone whispered, "Are you sure her husband won't find out?" And Eric laughed. Laughed like it was a joke. He's too soft. She said he'd forgive her for anything. Watch this. He handed his phone to someone else and stepped forward. Pulled Darlene close. Kissed her. Deep. And she didn't stop him. Didn't flinch. Didn't push away. She kissed him back like she was trying to erase our marriage in that one moment. The video ended there. Abruptly. Another message popped up immediately. I didn't know he filmed it. I didn't know they planned it. I didn't know it was all a game to them. I stared at that message for what felt like hours. They planned it. That's what hit me the hardest. Not the kiss. Not the betrayal. But the humiliation. The part where I was the punchline. The setup. The fool in the background of someone else's dare. She followed up with a voice note, but I couldn't listen right away. I walked outside the motel in my socks, into the December cold, just to breathe something that didn't reek of sweat and guilt. When I finally went back in and hit play, her voice was shaking. I stayed because I thought I could control it. I thought I was the one playing a game. I didn't realize I was the one being played. Eric wanted to get back at me for leaving him all those years ago. I was stupid. I was vain. I let myself believe I still mattered to him. And now, I know I was just a weapon. A performance. She paused, then said the last part like it physically hurt her to admit it. I told him you'd never leave me. I told him you were too forgiving. I told him I could mess up and still come home, and you'd be sitting on the couch waiting. I used your love like a shield, and I'm sorry, Clyde. I'm so sorry. For the first time in days, I cried. Not loud. Not messy. Just silent tears rolling down my cheeks while I sat in the dark motel room, feeling the last piece of my dignity crumble. Because the person who betrayed me didn't just cheat. She made me predictable. She turned my loyalty into a weakness. And she gave that weapon to someone else to use against me. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of birds I hadn't noticed in days. Or maybe they'd always been there, and I'd just been too drowned in pain to hear them. I sat up slowly, my phone still clutched in my hand from the night before. No new messages. Just that final voice note from her, still echoing in my skull. I didn't respond. Not at first. Instead, I checked out of the motel. Packed up my things, folded the ugly motel blanket neatly over the chair like it was someone else's home I didn't want to disrespect. I drove in silence for hours, past the city line, through the hills, into places that didn't remind me of her. And somewhere on that drive, the decision clicked into place. It wasn't rage. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't some grand dramatic speech or slamming doors. It was clarity. For the first time in weeks, I could breathe without wondering what lie I was choking on. And that, somehow, made me feel powerful again. When I finally got home, she was sitting on the porch, still in her hoodie, hair pulled back, eyes swollen. She didn't look like the woman in the red dress anymore. She looked like the version of herself that had been hiding for years, the one I used to know, before the bitterness, before the games. She stood up the second she saw me. "Clyde." I held up a hand. "Don't. Not yet." I walked inside first, put my bag down, looked around the living room where we'd shared so many good things and so many buried wounds. And then I turned to her. "You were right," I said. I was too forgiving. Her face twisted, like she was bracing for me to say I was done, that it was over, that I was leaving forever. But I wasn't. Not like that. I spent so long trying to fix things you broke that I forgot what it felt like to take care of myself. I stopped showing up for myself so I could keep showing up for us. And I let you turn me into someone small. She looked down, tears dripping onto her sleeves. "I know. I'm not angry anymore," I continued. "I'm not even hurt the same way. You did what you did, and I stayed in it longer than I should have. But I'm done living in your shadow." She nodded, almost like she agreed with every word, because maybe she'd finally seen the man I used to be. Not the quiet one, not the weak one, but the one who still had dignity buried under all the damage. "I'm not divorcing you," I said, and her eyes widened in confusion. "But I'm not living here either. Not until you rebuild what you broke. On my terms." She looked stunned. "You mean, like a second chance?" "No," I said. "Not for you. For me." And with that, I handed her a notebook. A blank one. Not digital. Not typed. Just paper and pen. 1 page a day, I told her. No more lies. No more silence. Fill it with truth. Real truth. About what happened. About who you are. About what you want. And when it's full, maybe I'll read it. She didn't argue. She didn't beg. She just nodded. Because for once, she understood that I wasn't asking for answers anymore. I was asking her to earn them. That night, I didn't sleep at the motel. I slept at a friend's place. A small guest room. Thin blankets. But I slept well, for the first time in weeks. And in the morning, a message waited for me. "Page 1 is done. I hope one day you'll read it. Even if we don't make it, I want you to know you never deserved any of it. And I'm going to spend every page proving I finally see you." Maybe we'd survive this. Maybe we wouldn't. But I'd already won. Because I wasn't waiting for her to save me anymore. I'd saved myself.